Good afternoon, folks. It is a great privilege to be back at ALEC. I went out this morning and had a meeting and was accosted by some of the protesters that are out there. And don't you just know we're doing the right thing at ALEC when we have these lunatics protesting against what we're doing? It just feels good to be part of ALEC. And I have to say this, that first of all, kudos to all the people at ALEC who put this fantastic conference together. Leadership really does matter. Lisa, you've done an incredible job. Isn't Lisa Nelson the best person we could have possibly found to run this spectacular organization? And I have to say this, that I've been involved with ALEC now for 15 or 20 years, and I'm proud to be a board member of ALEC, and I think it's one of the most influential organizations in the entire conservative movement. But when I see these protesters, and I see what's happening with a lot of these corporations that are dropping their support of ALEC because they've been intimidated by these left-wing groups, I just want to assure you all of something, and how many are you with me on this? That we will not be intimidated. We will not be shut up. We will not be defunded. ALEC will continue to be the important organization that it is. And the more they protest against us, the more that we need to step up and support this incredibly important organization. And all we are for is free markets, freedom, prosperity, and liberty. What's wrong with that? So I wanted to just make a couple of remarks about the new report that Jonathan Williams and Art Laffer and I did, Rich States, Poor States. First of all, who here is from the great state of Utah? Congratulations, 8 years in a row, number one, you're doing something right. I can't tell you how proud we are of you, 8 years in a row. But who here is from the great state of North Dakota? Yeah, you are right on Utah's heels, number 2 state, congratulations. And how many Hoosiers? Any Hoosiers here? Well, no, Lisa and I were talking about this last night, that since we started doing this report 8 years ago, there is no state that has made more progress than the state of Indiana in terms of moving up. When we started this report 8 years ago, Indiana was 24, Indiana is now number 3, and I think what that proves to us all, it should be an inspiration to everyone in this room, that ideas matter, that what you do matters in terms of the prosperity of your state, and leadership matters. I mean, Indiana has had 2 of the great governors of modern times, and Mitch Daniels and Mike Pence, and that has a huge impact. Now, let me say this, who here is from California, New York, Illinois, or New Jersey? You've got a lot of work to do in your state. You got a lot of work to do, but I think things are going to get better. And by the way, Illinois, who's here from Illinois? I'm from Illinois. You've actually moved up pretty substantially. I think if you look at before Bruce Warner was governor, I think Illinois, Jonathan knows for sure, I think you were about 45 or 46 or 47. Illinois has now moved up to something like 37. So you're moving up the ladder. You are doing the right thing. And for those of you here from Illinois, keep fighting the fight. Do not cave into the teachers' unions. Fight that fight that you're doing. The whole country is watching you. Now, speaking of leadership that matters, I am so proud to be able to introduce one of my favorite governors, Governor Paul LePage of Maine, who has been a spectacular leader. And you talk about the Northeast and all the problems in the Northeast, the states that are being robbed from people and businesses and capital by states like, by the states that do things right, like Tennessee and states like Florida and Texas. But Maine is an outlier in the Northeast. Maine and New Hampshire are the 2 states that are really doing things right. And it's because of the spectacular leadership of this governor. And what a story, Paul LePage. I do this economic stuff. One of the areas that I do so much research on is that how do we make America an opportunity society? And one of the things that bothers me so much, Governor, is when I hear people say, the American dream doesn't exist anymore, that you can't pull yourself up from your bootstraps and make a better life. And that's just false. And we have so much evidence that this is still a country where the American dream does still exist, where you can start out poor and become rich. It's the one country in the world where you can do that. And there is no one in this country who better exemplifies that, or very few, than Paul LePage. And his biography, many of you know it, but for those of you who don't know his background, it is really stunning what he has accomplished in his life. First of all, he grew up in abject poverty, one of 18 children. 18 children. Those must have been interesting football games you had in your backyard. But 18 kids. He left home at the age of 11 and struck out by himself at 11 years old. And this is a man who knows what it is to live in poverty. And he has done, I hate this idea that this idea the left has talked about dead-end jobs. There is no such thing as a dead-end job in this country, and this is a man who has done it all. So, listen to some of the things. I was reading his biography. This is a man who has worked as a dishwasher. He has worked as a shoe shine at a shoe shine shop. He's worked as a truck driver. He's worked at McDonald's. He's done the drudgery jobs in this country, and he has built himself up to then becoming a major businessman of a very successful firm in Maine, and then he became the governor of the great state of Maine. He's now in his second term, won his first election by a landslide of 2 percentage points, and won this time last year by 5 percentage points. With these ideas, and his ideas have worked, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just give you a few examples of what has happened in Maine under this gentleman's leadership. When he came into office, the Maine unemployment rate was 8.4%. Now it is 4.5%. That's pretty amazing. He has cut the unemployment rate in Maine in half. Congratulations for that incredible accomplishment. And when I mentioned that to him at lunch, he said, I'm even more proud of the fact, because as you know, some of these unemployment numbers can be very deceiving because we've had so many people drop out of the labor force under Barack Obama. That has not happened in Maine. The labor force participation rate in Maine has gone up, not down, as it has in so many other states. So congratulations on that. He has taken people off of welfare because this is a man who really truly believes that welfare should not be a way of life, that it can be a trap, and the best thing that you can do for people is to put them into a job. And he has done that in so many instances. And I'll just end by this and then bring the governor up here, that when we were talking at lunch, he was saying that he hates the expression that when people say you can't do something, that it's impossible, it can't be done. And there are two types of people in this world, right? The people who say things can't be done and the people who do things. And what I'm trying to say to you is that, ladies and gentlemen, Paul LePage, as Americans, can do governor. Governor LePage, we're so proud to have you here. Thank you so much for your leadership.